What's up, guys? I haven't done a ranking video on my channel in a really long time, but I'm really excited to do it as I spent the last 2 weeks watching all the films in Kevin Smith's View ASKEWNIVERSE series. These are the films that started with the movie Clerks, but then it kind of branched out to feature the characters of Jay and Silent Bob more and more. We're talking about movies such as Mallrats Chasing Amy, Dogma, and then Jay and Silent Bob had their own spin-offs as well. So we will be ranking each of these films from worst to best, though I will say that none of the films are bad. I enjoyed each and every single one, though I did have some problems with some of the movies. Now, starting off with the worst of the worst, I guess you can call it, with a letter grade of C- is Chasing Amy. So when it comes down to the View ASKEWNIVERSE series, for me, Chasing Amy is dead last. It's not a bad movie, however, I did have a few issues with it. First of all, it didn't feel so much like a movie that fit or belonged in the View ASKEWNIVERSE films. It worked more off of the gimmick of some straight guy trying to date a lesbian than it had characters that you'll remember forever. You'll really only remember it being Ben Affleck, not what his character was known for. So when Ben Affleck's character from this shows up in other films, primarily with the Jay and Silent Bob spin-offs, it just looks like they're running into Ben Affleck. It doesn't feel like they're running into his character from this movie. That is pure and simply because his character was bland in this. And not only that, but its message on sexuality wasn't all that good. Next up on my ranking is the letter grade of C+, the score that I gave 2 films in this universe, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot and Mallrats. Now, both of these films are fine on their own. They have a lot of positives to be seen about them, but they're far from perfect, right? Jay and Silent Bob Reboot was a reboot. It rehashed a lot of the same jokes of the first. On purpose, yes, but some of its own original jokes didn't work as well as they probably wanted them to, including a joke featuring a smartphone that Silent Bob had that he used emojis to show what he was feeling, even though he's already a proven pantomime, basically, in showing his expressions. So when he did this, it actually made his character worse. Mallrats, it was more about the fact that it was a little bit convoluted. It had story after story after story. It just kept changing its mind over and over again, and it felt like it had absolutely no idea what it wanted to do. So it was almost like they were writing the movie as they went along when they were filming it. It didn't feel like it was planned out all that much. It had good moments. I mean, Jay and Silent Bob were great in it. A lot of the jokes, I laughed a lot in that. It's just a little bit of a messy narrative. Next up on my scoring goes to the letter of B with Dogma. I said in my review of Dogma that is potentially my favorite of this franchise. Not best, but favorite. And the reason why I said that is because just from a cinematic perspective, the film is made well. It's got a good story, good narrative structure, memorable characters, memorable moments. The entire thing is a very good story. But kind of like Chasing Amy, it doesn't really feel like it fits within this View ASKEWNIVERSE series. I say that primarily because Dogma is actually the only movie that I can think of in this entire list that feels weird to have Jay and Silent Bob in it. They're giving their all in terms of slapstick comedy, and it's great if that's what you like from the film. However, a majority of the film is dealing instead with dark humor. And honestly, if you love dark humor, this film is really good with that. Lots of characters in this movie, very funny with dark humor. But it is wired thin whenever Jay and Silent Bob would do their thing, because the 2 different styles of comedy kind of clash in this movie, which makes it imperfect in my opinion. Going up to my next score, it's B+ with both Clerks 1 and Clerks 2. Now, if you watch my review of Clerks 2, I kind of explain why I have these scored the same, when in a lot of different ways these movies are very different from each other, but at the same time very similar. I basically said that they're both kind of a wash, which is why I rated them the same. The first one benefited off of creativity from a shoestring budget, the black and white stuff, the constant witty banter. Clerks 1 had the best dialogue out of any of the movies, honestly. They all have great dialogue. Kevin Smith is a master at writing dialogue, but Clerks 1 had the best of them all. The second movie benefited off of a little bit of a better budget, a little bit of a deeper storyline, and it definitely dipped their toes a little bit into exploring character development for these two characters. And it definitely also had wilder slapstick humor, which is definitely what I look for out of this series as a whole. So it's a wash between the two. They're both equally as good for different reasons in my opinion. Next up on the ranking, A-, we're talking about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Now, when I think of the ASKEWNIVERSE as a character, I think about Jay and Silent Bob. Because in a lot of ways, they're basically a interdimensional being, right? They end up everywhere, and everybody seems to know them for whatever reason. The gag is that everybody knows them because, you know, they're drug dealers or whatever, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. Because they go across the country and people still know who they are. And the theme and the tone of Strike Back, it just screams ASKEWNIVERSE to me. It's wacky, it's hilarious, it's got a lot of pop culture references that anybody could enjoy even if they didn't watch the rest of the series with Jay and Silent Bob. A lot of celebrity cameos. Basically, it does no wrong. The only complaint that I actually had about Strike Back was that it loses a little bit of clarity about how all of these movies are connected to each other a little bit towards the third act of the film. And finally, the best film out of the bunch, at least in my opinion. I'm a hot take kind of guy, but my personal favorite film on all counts with a score of A is Clerks 3. I'm definitely with you guys. It's a weird choice to have for number 1. If I was to score it specifically off of what's the funniest, I would probably say Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. But my ranking deals with more than that, and the Clerks trilogy alone is really a standout series at the end of the day. It's where everything began, and in a lot of ways it's where everything ended. It might be even one of the least funniest out of the entire saga, but I like it the most because of the journey the characters had gone through from the very beginning. This movie gets real, it gets deep, it has some of the best performances out of the entire series. It makes incredibly bold decisions. Also super nostalgic if you were somebody that loved that first Clerks movie, because that's essentially what this movie was. It was them basically making Clerks 1. So out of them all, that one stands out to me as just in general a fantastic movie. Now, there's a possibility that Kevin Smith might be making more films in the View Askew-universe in the nearby future, but if he didn't, I would actually appreciate that more because the way that this ends is perfect. Perfect. It's like Kevin Smith is saying, you know, goodbye, thank you for your love. So if he goes on to make another weird, wacky, absurd film in the series, it might be funny, but then I feel like it undercuts the meaning of this film. But yeah, what do I know? Guys, I want to hear your thoughts. Have you seen all these films in the View Askew-universe series of movies? If you have, which one is your favorite? How would you rank this? Which one's the worst? Let me know. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out.